If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best, and the best is blessed, baby.
All right, gentlemen, we've been over the rules. Protect yourself at all times. Follow my instructions. Keep it clean. Touch gloves if you wish. Let's do it.
What's up, Straight Talk Society? This is your host, Trevor, and I'm back with another episode of Straight Talk MMA. And we got a really, really exciting show, a different show planned for you tonight because we're going to do something a little different. Normally, we preview or review the upcoming UFC fights, but today we're going to get in the time machine and we're going to go back 12 years and review a fight that I missed. I don't know how the hell it went under my radar after watching it. We're going to review one of the most epic fights I've seen. We're going to go back to November 19th, 2011, and review UFC 139, the main event, Dan Henderson against Shogun Rua. But you know I'm not going to do that by myself. There's no way in the hell, because I can never do a show like this justice. So let me bring in the co-hosts. Let me bring in the pros.
What's going on? What's going on?
What's up?
How everybody doing?
All right. So we're going to do something a little different tonight. We're going to actually do a match review versus an entire show. We're just going to review a match. Bones suggested a match. No different from when we did Griffin versus Bonner, but Bones suggested a match, and I actually watched the match twice. I had to watch the match first to take notes on it, but then I just watched it straight through as a fan. And I will say this: normally through these UFC shows, you guys do all the talking, and I just sit back. But for this fight, I got some stuff to say about this one. Because this shit was a banger. So I don't know. First of all, I don't know if you guys want to get into the news outside of this fight first, or you want to do the fight first and then get to the news later. How you want to do it?
We do the news first.
All right, we're gonna get into the news first. All right. So I got a message that said let's discuss Francis Ngannou's contract. So let's do just that. you know, you guys give us the particulars. What's going on?
From what I see, well, off top, there's never been a contract like the one he got. And I feel like regardless of how you feel about it, a lot of people are complaining and saying, "Oh, he going to the PFL. He left the UFC. What is this going to do for his legacy?" But you got to look at it and say, a fighter's legacy isn't just what he does, like when he's in a fight. Because true enough, I think this adds to his legacy, the deal that he got, because it creates competitive pay, and a lot of people are gonna like pretty much his win helps all fighters. He got
So
he can
hold
get
on,
his
hold
own
on, hold on, hold
sponsors.
on. Let's do this because we can't just assume that everybody that's watching this show even knows who Francis Ngannou is. So we gotta
Okay.
yeah, we gotta back up. We gotta back up some first of all as to who is Francis Ngannou and what is this PFL, because I didn't know anything about PFL.
Okay, so Francis Ngannou was the reigning, defending, undisputed UFC heavyweight champ. He took the belt off of Stipe Miocic in a rematch, and then he defended it one time against Cyril Gane, with a torn ACL, by the way, through the whole fight. After that fight, he left the UFC. They was trying to renegotiate the contract. He wouldn't sign. He said, his whole thing was, you tell me I'm a subcontractor, but at the same time, you won't let me go do other things and work for other people. So what is it? Am I a subcontractor or am I an employee? So him and the UFC couldn't come to a deal. He actually left the UFC as their standing champion, which left the belt vacant. A lot of people were saying that he was asking for too much because he wanted health insurance for all fighters. He wanted to be able to go box, and he wanted to be able to have his own sponsors and whatnot. Because the way they have it now. Remember back in the day, you used to be able to have sponsors, and now the UFC just signs a general deal with like Venom or Reebok.
Yeah.
And you get like a little cut when you wear the uniform, but it's not like how it used to be. And so he walked. The PFL signed him. They gave him I don't know what his money looking like, but I know he put a stipulation in his contract where anybody that fights him, any of his opponents, are guaranteed a minimum of $2 million. He's allowed to go box. They put him on the board of some kind of fighter advocate thing that the PFL has. So where he's the first fighter on that board that he can speak for fighters. They made him the head of PFL Africa. Any event that he fights on is going to be a pay-per-view, and he's entitled to a percentage of everything as far as the gate, the pay-per-view points, the merchandise sales, and plus he get to use his own sponsors. So that's just what I know about it. I don't know all the other people. Oh, he's allowed to go box, and apparently he won't be fighting until 2024.
I think he gonna.
Yeah, I was about to say, hop in there, Bones. I got something I want to ask a question.
He's my fighter.
Uh-oh. Hold on. Let me try something real quick because your mic is hold on. All right, go ahead.
You
there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
All right. Yeah, he's my favorite fighter, and I feel
He's breaking up real.
Yeah, it's still going in and out.
I'm gonna leave him.
Yeah, go out and then come back in. Yeah, I guess what I want to say in the immediacy though is like who else is in PFL?
Say it again. What?
Who else is in the PFL?
Yeah, I can hear you say it again. Oh, the PFL, they have some of their own homegrown talent, and they have a lot of UFC people that left the UFC too, like Shane Burgos, Anthony Pettis, but they got Kayla Harrison, Thiago Santos, and what they do is they kind of tie MMA into other sports. So they have a season, and every weight class they have a tournament, and if you get a finish in the first round, that's 6 points for the fight. The second round, 5 points. The third round, 4 points. The decision gets you 3 points. At the end of the season, they tally up who has the most points, and then they do a playoffs. After the playoffs, whoever wins the belt that year gets a check for $1 million, and then you have to come back and do it again next year.
Yo, it's better.
Yeah. Try again. Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying, don't do.
You got headphones on?
No, I ain't got no headphones.
Oh, see, now you sound, when you do that, you sound better.
Yeah. And favorite heavyweight, I feel like the fact that his opponent thought about shows that he.
Hold on.
Hold up, bro. Hold up.
Yeah, because it's like sometimes you'll say stuff and it'll be real clear, and then other times it's just like going in and out. It keeps burp.
Yo.
Yeah, see, like that was clear, but now when you start talking,
Francis Ngannou, he's very unselfish by getting that. Because it's by the other fighters too. Does it sound better or no?
No, keep talking.
Also, he was my favorite heavyweight in the UFC. So the fact that he left, it was bittersweet. I would like to see him stay in the UFC, but the UFC was never going to give him what he wanted. And like we always talk about the Reebok deal and stuff like that. How we don't like the Venom fight kits. We like for fighters to have their own individuality. And I feel like the UFC never going to offer that to him, so he had to go elsewhere and get that.
See, I don't know what it is, but I just muted Zay and now I can hear you perfect. So we're probably gonna have to do that. You're gonna have to mute one another when we go. But so somebody says in the chat, Christopher Morales, I appreciate you for coming over, saying that Fabricio Verdum is gonna be Ngannou's first opponent. But I asked Zay a question and he didn't answer it. He knows me. He should have knew where I was coming from. I asked Zay who is in the PFL. And when I ask you a question like that, it means I think that it's probably full of a bunch of bums. Like who over there could justify getting a $2 million check?
Unless you're hard to the people.
I would say nobody. I mean, he really, and that's what the big thing is. That's why people don't like it, because they feel like at the end of the day, he going over there to fight a bunch of nobodies. But at the same time, somebody that guaranteed $2 million is like a recruitment tool. I feel like, because now people are going to be trying to go to the PFL just to fight Francis. And I think Chris is right. I feel like Fabricio Verdum may very well be his first opponent. But another thing too is how I just told you they do tournaments. Francis will not be partaking in the tournament. He's just going to only do pay-per-view cards. And so I was listening to something Dana said yesterday. He said Francis don't want to take no risks. We threw the kitchen sink at him, trying to make him the highest paid heavyweight in UFC history. But it's like he didn't really want to fight John Jones. He's like, I don't think he's afraid of him. I just think he don't want to take risks. So he goes to the PFL where they two heavyweight champions they ever had. One has been beaten by a top 15 UFC heavyweight who will never be a champion, and Marcin Tybura. And the other one has been beaten by their light heavyweight champion, Yuri Prochazka. So it's like, there's really nobody on Francis' level in the PFL. On the flip side, if you go over there and lose, that's going to make him look even worse.
You know what this sounds like? This sounds like if so. The rumor is that Drew McIntyre is not going to re-sign, even though I saw a rumor the other day that he has re-signed, but the rumor is he's not going to re-sign. he's not going to resign because of creative control, probably some money issue, and probably he wants to be champion because he was bucked out of his championship during the COVID year. You know, he had
I remember.
He had a title run with nobody there. So he's kind of salty with that. So immediately everybody's like, "Oh, go to AEW." But I feel like as much strides as AEW has made, and I'm even coming around saying that they're good for the business, is still big fish, small pond. AEW is not on the level of the WWE in any respect. For a Drew McIntyre to go over there and now become their champion. So now the reason I say that is because I had to compare it to something that I know a bunch about. So now when we get back into the fighting thing, Francis Ngannou, to me, it does seem like he just wants to be the man. You remember when Triple H told CM Punk, he was like, it's not that you care so much about the wrestlers, it's just that you just want to be the one to kick off the change. Like you want to be the one to have your name attached to it. Like, see, look what I did. And that's kind of how this sounds. Like Francis, he's not going to fight in the tournament. He only fights pay-per-views. People had to he has to get a percentage of the gates. I would love to see what Dana White, and I'm not caping for Dana White because I mean Dana White and Vince McMahon are the same people. But I would like to see what the UFC threw at him, that you're going to take a step down in competition and not fight a John Jones, but you'll fight a Fabricio Verdum. When the last time has he been relevant?
Fabricio fought in the PFL tournament, and he had one loss, but that loss was super suspect.
Yeah, that was fluky.
It was fugazi as hell. But I know, I feel like at the end of the day, like I said, it's good for the fighters, and I don't complain about nobody else getting money. From what I heard, Dana threw $8 million at him per fight for a 3-fight deal, and he signed, I think, a 2-fight deal with the PFL.
Hey,
for $2 million.
I don't know how much he got paid.
Hey, but I think what my brother said is people, because his opponents, knowing that they're finna get $2 million, is going to draw people. Is going to draw heavyweights to go fight, in the PFL, because you could take like the top average from 10 to 15 heavyweight in the UFC. You're not finna get that $2 million there fighting on a fight night card or even a pay-per-view card or something like that. So it would definitely motivate me if I had one fight left. I would definitely be motivated to go in the PFL and fight Francis for that $2 million.
But the UFC play dirty though. Like they have the best fighters in the world, and they rigged the game to try to keep it that way. So it's going to take time for somebody to catch up. And what I mean by that is, all right, well, they just restructure all their contracts. So people coming into the UFC now, like say you got a 5-year deal for like 7 fights. You feel me? Or a 3-year deal for 3 fights, or a 2-year deal for 3 fights. Well, that you sign the contract today. If they don't book you until November, your contract doesn't start until November, and then they are obligated to offer you 3 fights a year or something like that. But if they offer you a fight and you turn it down, then that adds the extra 6 months to your contract. And then the people who are big names and towards the end of their career, like John Jones, this contract he just re-signed, that was an 8-fight deal. He don't got 8 fights left. So therefore, if he retires after his next fight, you still owe the UFC 6 fights. So you can't come out of retirement to go fight Francis. Any fight, unless we allow it. You feel me? We gotta allow you out of your contract. So they kind of like rigging the game in that aspect.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, what? There's this little thing called a contract, like because WWE, if a wrestler gets hurt, their contract freezes. So even if you thought you had 6 months on your contract, that shit freezes, and now they're going to start it once you're able to come back. So, and that could mess you up from appearing at a big pay-per-view or something like that. So So Bones, let me ask you, because yeah, until we get the whole mic thing, so yeah, so see my brother-in-law, he says, yeah, that's definitely rigged in the UFC favor. But that, I mean, that's just big business, how it is anyway. But we all agree that we're good with the fighters getting like health care and stuff like that. So nobody's against that.
No, not at all. They should be getting.
Yeah, and that's how it is in WWE. Also, is like, you got these wrestlers that go out and they fight for, like, if I'm an independent contractor, I should be able to go do outside things. But Zay keeps mentioning him boxing. Is this something he's done before, or is this something he wants to try to do?
He never did it before, but he won a box. And honestly, like I said, Francis is my favorite heavyweight fighter. Period. But I don't want to see him fight Tyson Fury. He's not ready for that. You know what I mean? Deontay might be more solid, but I don't. I'm not a big fan of it though.
Not only has he ever boxed, it's like, all right, so there's an episode of Joe Rogan with Francis on there. You really got to listen to it to hear his backstory and whatnot. So he came from like literally the dirt and risked his life to get over here several times. Got caught, sent back, but he made it over here. His dream was to be a boxer and make it to America and become a boxer. He just fell into MMA because the first gym he went to was they were teaching him boxing, but they said, hey, you should try this MMA thing, and he was able to get MMA fights, and he just fell into MMA, but he always wanted to box. So and I think Conor McGregor kind of ruined the game with that, because once he did it and everybody saw the payday he got from one fight, everybody want to do it. But the thing about it too is he's calling out all the top heavyweights in boxing, and he's never boxed before. So it's like he gonna get his clock clean. But I mean, he got the power to knock out anybody, but that technique, and he's been calling out Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, and Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua says, I'm not into gimmicks. Like I'm trying to pursue my boxing career. That's not gonna do nothing for me.
Yeah, if he was to fight anybody, Wilder would be the only reasonable person, because Fury is too technical. He gonna jab him to death. And Anthony Joshua, even though I'm not a big fan of him, he too technical too. So I don't think it's gonna work out. But Wilder, he got the power. He gonna brawl with him. You know what I mean? So that'd be the only logical person. But even then, I still don't want to see that though.
Do you think his play in this is, I'd fight a Tyson Fury for like a $20 million payday, and if he cleans my clock, so what? I'll disappear.
Nah, I honestly think that he thinks that he can beat him. But
I'm with you, Trevor. I feel like it's more about the payday, and it's the payday is to scratch an itch that he always had, and it's to say, see, look, like I got my way.
Yeah, I mean, because if you're, I mean, okay, so what do they do with the belt? Well, I mean, I know they already made a new belt and everything, but technically he is still recognized as a UFC champion, correct?
nah, he was a former UFC champion, but John Jones and Cyril Gane already fought for that belt, and John Jones won. So John Jones is now the current UFC undisputed heavyweight champion of the world.
So we're gonna get back into this undisputed talk when there's still another champion out there.
But he's not on contract, so he doesn't count as a UFC employee, so you can't consider him.
But yeah, I get what you're saying. Like what you're saying, Trevor, is the same thing that Ngannou, like, hey, I'm still the champion. Like, and whenever he said, you can't really technically deny him because he never lost his belt. But I look at it like this too. So if he's not fighting MMA until 2024, that's gonna be all right. So he had 3 fights in 3 years. It was 1 fight per year, and then he hasn't fought in like damn near 18, 19 months. So by the time he do fight, he's gonna be out 3 years, coming off of knee surgery. So it's like that's something else to be skeptical about too. This deal could blow up in the PFL face, or it could save him, because I mean, they're not really selling tickets like that, and they only had one pay-per-view in the 3 years of existence. And they also trying to buy Bellator as well. So they really trying to swing for the fences and like be the next top organization.
So he found a sucker then, basically.
Yeah, I mean, a sucker or somebody that's desperate. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it play out.
But look,
Go ahead.
if the PFL, if they buy Bellator, then that'd be better for them than them just signing and going, in my opinion, because of the matchups they can make and they have more named people to the organization. You know.
That's what I was gonna say. That's what I was gonna say. Who's popping over in Bellator right now? That would have been the better move. Would be to buy the rival company.
I think they're trying to do both. And I see it as if I forgot what I was gonna say. I lost my train of thought.
No, to answer your question, Trey, the Pitbull brothers, you got MVP, Michael Venom Page. Those three right there are probably the top stars, and they'll instantly sell tickets to PFL.
And you got
AJ McKee,
Saeed Usman Nurmagomedov, I think is over there. And then the thing too is Vadim Nemkov is the heavyweight champion, Corey Anderson.
Ryan.
Yeah, I don't think they'll ever let that happen. but I look at it like this too. The PFL, due to their tournament format, they have a lot of rematches, like a lot of matches you've seen already, and that's what kind of make it sell. So I feel like adding to that roster would definitely help them out in that case.
It's very interesting and something to look into, because again, I always do the AEW comparison. AEW made Jim Cornette gave Jim Ross the highest contract he's ever had in his entire time in the business. Has it paid off? I don't think it was a good investment. AEW threw millions at Jericho. They threw millions at all these people, and we have this conversation, and with a straight face, my co-host, not Bones, because Bones is at least sensible when it comes to this. My other co-hosts will look at me and say, "Oh, but they're doing good, even though they can't crack 1 million viewers." Like, at what point are you realizing, like, man, I'm just throwing money at a big ass boat with a hole in it? Like, it's crazy.
All right, I would say the Jim Ross thing. You know, like the whole story with his wife dying and him being depressed, and him reaching out to WWE for a job. They didn't want to sign him, so he ended up going to AEW. And with Jericho, when the company first started, they needed that top recognizable name. You know, like outside the Young Bucks and Omega and stuff like. They needed like a recognizable name from WWE. So that's why I would say Jericho is a good investment. But like stuff like Jeff Jarrett and them signing, you know, like all these other people like Tony Nese and stuff like that, they can do without. But certain people, I feel like has been a big help. Like even Sting, I feel like he's been a big help because he's not on screen every week. He's not wrestling the role every week. He's not taking away time from the younger talent. So it works out.
You already know how I feel about the Sting thing.
He's put over Darby Allin. He's not wrestling every week, so I don't see the issue with that. Unlike Jeff Jarrett, who's wrestling for a belt. Sting never gonna wrestle for a belt, and he said when he came in, he's not there for a belt. So you know, I'm okay with that.
So what do you? All right. So in wrapping this one up, what next year? Francis Ngannou comes back healthy. He's gonna have his fight. A, who do you see him fighting? And B, what do you think 2025 looks like for PFL? Are they competing with UFC?
In 2025, I don't know if they'll be competing with UFC because I don't really see them getting too many UFC people in that time frame because the UFC people are still on UFC contracts. And as far as Ngannou's first opponent, I agree with Chris. It'll probably be Fabricio Verdum because he's the most recognizable heavyweight they got over there. And he's also a former heavyweight champion.
I would say, as of right now, Fabricio Verdum is the only one that makes sense. But also, I would have to say that I think more than likely the person he's going to fight first probably isn't even on the roster yet. But yeah, I would say he's probably not on the roster yet. And the crazy thing about PFL too is they just had like 4 or 5 of their top guys tested positive for steroids. So it's like the guy who won the championship, 2 of the guys who won the championship last year, and like Thiago Santos, who just came over from the UFC, and like 2 other people. So it's like, damn, they not even, and that kind of ruins the form. They gotta retool the way they whole setup. I feel like, because now you don't have that many fighters on your roster, and then you lose like 3 or 4 of your top ones who all got wins. Like in the regular season, like 6 and 5 points, except for Santos, and now what do you do from there?
So wait, first is that your homeboy Chris?
Yeah.
Oh shit, he could come on the panel if he wants. Yeah, I didn't know that was him. But secondly, yeah, and I agree thinking Black, that many hits is, I'm telling you. So my next question was going to be like, I don't think it's going to work. And it's like not me being cynical, and it's not because I often get accused of not liking the little guy. You know what I'm saying? Like they'd be like, "Oh, you never want to see the little guy succeed." That's not true. But what I'm saying is the little guy
must have been mad when Mysterio got the belt, huh?
Oh no, I was there. I was there when he won the Royal Rumble. I was happy as a pig and shit. But what I'm saying is like I'm okay with the little guy succeeding. Hell, I'm a little guy. I had to fight all my life. But it's when the little guy goes out and makes like bonehead moves, like, you know what I'm saying? It's like it's like the Dolphins signing Carlos Dansby to a $50 million contract versus getting 3 O linemen with that money. Or, you know what I'm saying? It's like when you're a little guy and you don't have any track record, the little mistakes add up and they could bankrupt you. That's all I'm saying. I mean, I competition is good. Competition is real good, but to me, they sound like that's not gonna work, man. I mean, because if Ngannou's already hurt, so you give a guy that's already hurt the largest contract in history, and it just doesn't sound good, not at all.
And that's exactly what Dana said last night on his post conference. Somebody asked him about it, and he was like, "I'm not being a hater, but to me, it just don't make sense." He was like, "Y'all just did this with Francis, and you laid out the whole track record with Francis." And then he said, and then I hear they doing business with somewhere in the Middle East where they just got I guess somewhere in the Middle East they invested 280 million into them. I guess that's what they're gonna try to use to buy Bellator. And he's saying, meanwhile, y'all not even selling out arenas, so y'all just gonna burn through this money and then what? Like,
Hey,
go ahead.
In my opinion, they should have focused more so on Bellator. You know what I'm saying? Like for them, as far as Francis, I'm not mad at him at all. He did what he had to do. But as far as PFL, investing in Bellator probably would have been a better, deal. But I guess if they can afford both, then why not?
Like look at this again, and I make a lot of wrestling references because wrestling, UFC, both same thing. As far as the business, but WCW was valued when they were going to buy it. I think it was like 85 million is what they were going to buy it for. What it was worth when it went out of business. Vince McMahon ended up buying everything for $2 million, and the reason being because they had nowhere to air the product. So again, what was they saying? Like you're spending all this money, spend this money on Ngannou, and I agree with Bones. Your focus should be with Bellator because at least Bellator has a name. That's another thing. You know, we're creatures of habit. We go for name recognition. So at least Bellator has a name. So if I'm like Pro Fight PFL / Bellator, at least somebody would be like, oh shit, they got some name recognition, but at the end of the day, you're spending all this money and you can't even fill your arenas at. So who's going to pay? Who's going to pay for all these big checks that they're writing? Hey, Chris, I put the link in the chat if you want to come in. You too, Thinking Black. I know you don't hit panels, but you could come up here. You don't have to turn your camera on. But yeah, I mean, I just feel like I don't know. I don't know.
Hey, I'm just anxious to see what his next fight gonna be. Whether it's gonna be boxing or MMA. I wanna see him fight. Cause like I keep saying, he was my favorite heavyweight fighter. Or he still is my favorite heavyweight fighter.
Yeah, he said he's gonna try to do the boxing this year, which is why he's not fighting MMA till next year. He's gonna try to get that one out of the way first.
Damn, that's a crazy world. But I bet nobody. I never heard anybody say, "Boy, you know what? I want to see that Roman Reigns getting the in the octagon." I mean, it's like we pay you to we pay you to do this, and now you want to try to do this, man. It's like, man,
Yeah.
that's crazy. All right, so I think that's it. All right, so we're gonna do a fight review. So Bones is the one who picked this fight. So first of all, what made you come up with this fight in particular?
This is one of my most favorite fights of all time, and at the time, I was a huge Shogun fan. Like Shogun was my boy. He declined a lot since, but at the time, like Shogun was that dude. So this fight was very memorable for me, and I always remembered it.
So I'll admit, when y'all told me to fight, I probably was thinking about maybe 3 or 4 other fights that y'all probably was gonna say before it. I'm like, damn, man, because I'm like I'm a Dan Henderson fan because that was my time of watching UFC. But I'm like, man, that he was 41 at the time, and it's like, man, that's it's like that's just but I'm gonna say it on record, thank you. Because that fucking fight was awesome. I watched it. We did a show that night. Yeah, we did a show that night, and I didn't go to bed until maybe 2 a.m. So it's like around 1 o'clock. I'm trying to find the last Saw movie. So I want to watch the Saw movie before I go to bed for some strange reason. But I couldn't pull it up. So I'm like, damn, you know what? I said, let me check out this fight that they're talking about. And within like the first 2 minutes, I'm like, oh
yeah,
shit. I said, I got to get my notepad. I said, because I thought I heard y'all say something about it was a quick knockout. But when I saw the time, I'm like, hell no, this can't be no quick knockout. So I started taking notes on the fight, and y'all will see as we go through how I was actually looking at it. Like, I watched it to take notes, and then I went back and watched it just as just to watch it as a fan and all the spectacle. And it was just as good the second time, man. It was amazing, man.
Yeah, what's up?
Victor Morales. Yeah, I already saw, so I just wanted to watch it again. I love watching like slasher shit. So all right, so I don't know how I know y'all the fight gurus, so I'm gonna say I got it broken down in rounds. That's how I want to discuss it. But as far as how y'all want to discuss it, y'all let me know. But when it comes to whatever I'm gonna say it in rounds because I had to take my notes. I know y'all gonna go out of y'all head, but me, I had to take notes on this one.
Hey, I'm gonna let Bones take off since I'm gonna let him choose since this was his fight.
Well, I got mine by rounds too, just how I remembered it. So when the fight first started, within the first within the first minute, Hendo already dropped Shogun, and he caught him in the nasty, almost like a little guillotine, because the fight started off and they was trying to like feel each other out a little bit, and then Hendo was kind of backed up against the cage, and he caught him, I believe, with a one of those little mini H bombs, and it didn't drop him clean, but he staggered and fell forward, and that's when he went in for that guillotine. And I thought he was gonna submit him right there at the time. Shogun was able to reverse it and get out, and then Shogun was up against the cage, and Hendo just started unloading on him, throwing like a bunch of flurries, like just up while Shogun was up against the cage. And by that time, Shogun was leaking. He was a bloody mess already, and this was only a minute into the fight. And the first round, it basically was just Shogun just being on the defensive, and you already started to see like his face was just a mess. And then you go to the second round. I don't know if you want to go next for your first round, Trevor, or what.
All right, let me do this. So is Victor Morales and Chris, that's another one of your partners?
Yeah, that's Chris' brother.
Oh, that's Chris' brother. I know y'all don't let people come on the streams for this, but if you want them to, just let me know. If they want to come up, they can. All right, so let me get in what I got. Let me go in the first round. Let's say you want to go.
Yeah, I'm gonna just keep it simple, because pretty much Bones touched on everything in the first round. I would say the first round definitely went to Hendo, and it's something that Dan Henderson does that he does it a lot, and it's the way he beat Fedor when you get him down, because it was 1 point towards the end of the round where Hendo got taken down, and he do this little switch where he grabbed the back of your leg and reverse out from underneath you, and now he's on top of you while you're on all fours. So he did that one time, but Shogun was able to stay safe, and he actually got up and started throwing uppercuts. But the first round was pretty much all offense from Hendo. Blood in the first minute, gotta love that. And he went for the finish twice, and throughout the fight, not just that round, throughout the fight, it's like the way both guys were searching for the finish was really impressive and made it really entertaining.
When I tell y'all that I loved this fight, if y'all listen to our WrestleMania 30, what was the last WrestleMania? 39. If y'all listen to our WrestleMania 39 review, hey, all y'all that's coming in the building, I can see you. Please hit that like button. Show the video some love, share it, all that good stuff. This where is that with the UFC talk. So I took those notes for the WrestleMania show, and I found myself doing the exact same thing for this. And so let's get into it. Here we go. So I made note, first of all, though, that Dan Henderson was 41. We can't not look at that. And at the time,
True.
Rua was 29, which is that's a big age difference. But what I did notice, to me, Shogun looked a little. He's never really 100% tight, but he looked a little fleshy,
soft,
to say the least. Yeah, he looked a little soft. So this is what I got. So round one, Rua lands Rua lands a leg kick. Henderson nails him with an uppercut that drops him to his knees. Hendo then puts a nasty front choke on him and slams him. The fighters stand up, and Hendo nails him with knees and strikes that busts Shogun up in the first minute of the fight. I asked the question, how the hell is he still standing? So Hendo drops Shogun again, and Shogun desperately tries to tie Hendo up against the cage. Hendo throws Shogun to the floor like a child. Again, Shogun is still moving forward with leg kicks and going for the takedown. 124 left in the first round. Shogun nails Hendo and drops him with a right hook and grounds and pounds the shit out of him. Hendo survives, gets up. The two men start throwing jabs for the last 30 seconds. I end this round by saying, how the fuck did Shogun survive that round?
Yeah.
like that was how?
Hey, it was a lot of moments like that in that fight.
Bro, the first minute in the round, I thought the fight was over. And what Hendo does, because again, I'm a Hendo fan. Hendo, he finishes you. Once he gets you down and he ground and pounds you, he'll stand back up and drop that hammer fist. That's exactly what he did to Michael Bisping at UFC 100, where I thought he overkilled him. But man, at this point, I'm like, bro, I said this man gonna die if they don't stop this fight, because he was getting brutalized that bad. I was like, whoa.
And you know that's Hendo logo, right? for all his companies and whatnot.
The Hammer Fist.
Yeah, when he in the air, like him,
Oh
picture
yeah,
of him
yeah,
in the
yeah, yeah,
air,
yeah, bro.
dropping down on Bisbee.
Man, all right, Bones. let's get with the round two. Man,
Round two, it was another dominant round for Hendo. He beat up on Shogun some more. It wasn't as dominant as the first round. Really, I would have scored the first round a 10-8 round, and I would have scored the second round a 10-9 round. But in the second round, he busted him open again, and I felt like Shogun he could have been finished again in the second round. And I don't know. Shogun, he showed a lot of heart in this fight, and like by this time, I definitely thought that he was gonna get finished. And that's all I got for the second round.
Yeah, the second round wasn't as exciting as the first round, and what I did notice, what stood out to me the most about it, is that's when you see Dan Henderson starting to gas a little bit. Like that's when he started. I think it was one point where Shogun was hanging on for dear life up against the cage, and Hendo had his back against the cage, and you see him like let out a deep breath, like man, I'm getting tired of beating this guy ass. Like he won't go away. So it looked like frustration started to set in a little bit, but that second round was all Hendo too.
See, you had that in the second round. I had Hendo doing a lot of that in the third round, where he was.
Yeah, it got worse.
Yeah, it almost looked like he was like, "Damn, I can't finish this guy." It's like he was just. I'm like, bro, I'm telling you, I'm sitting there and I'm like, this. I said, at some point, somebody with some common sense has to step in this after that first round and just be like, bro, that's it. Let me throw the towel in. Y'all can run it back. So here's what I got for for round two. I say the two men come out trading jabs, trying to jockey for position. 2 minutes in, Hendo lands a big hook and uppercut, but Shogun stayed on his feet. Shogun at this point seems to just be throwing reckless. He was doing a lot of that. I guess that's his style, though. Shogun seemed to be throwing a lot of reckless punches, trying to land the big shot. Like that's all he was going for, the big shot. He wasn't doing anything with any technique. Shogun ties Hendo up into the cage. Hendo breaks free and lands a couple of more shots. Shogun is getting his ass kicked royally in round two. So Hendo just presses Shogun against the cage until the ref breaks it up. And then Shogun is throwing. So now Shogun starts throwing some huge shots, but he was missing everything. Like the story of round two for me is Shogun threw a bunch of shit that just nothing landed. Like nothing landed, no damage at all. And I feel like Hendo was just doing like these videos we've been passing around lately about these what are those things called? Those
Komodo dragons.
Komodo dragons is just playing with their food, because that's what was going on in this round. It was just a bunch of playing with your prey.
I think Shogun got he got beat up so bad in the first round, and I think in the second round he was just trying to land something heavy to try to get some kind of respect. But like you said, he was missing everything.
So now we go to surprisingly a round three. Like, come on, man. And not for nothing, this is a 5-round fight. That's the crazy part. And Dan Henderson is 41.
Yeah. All right. So for round three, it started off, and this is when Dan Henderson started to look like real gas. And during the beginning of the round, Shogun started taking the momentum, and I guess maybe something was said in his corner or whatever, but he started utilizing kicks more in round three, and he started trying to kick. He caught Hendo with a nice head kick and staggered him a little bit when he was up against the cage, and he caught him again with a body kick, and then not too long after that, Hendo dropped Shogun again just when you thought Shogun was getting the momentum, and the momentum was swinging in his way. Hendo dropped Shogun again, and he caught him with like some nasty ground and pound that could have knocked out anybody else. And so just like that, like Hendo kind of seized control again, and Shogun was like busted up, and he was just looking a mess. And they got up and they kind of clinched up against the cage, And at one point, Shogun had Hendo clenched up against the cage, and Hendo was hitting him with some nasty elbows to the side of the head. Shogun took him down and got like a few good ground shots in, but that was basically round three. At first, Shogun was winning it, but then when Hendo dropped him, he kind of seized momentum and swung him the favor in his way again. Yeah, at end of round three, when Hendo went back to his corner, he looked gassed as hell.
Yeah, for me, in round three, I thought it was funny how when they came out, the referee was like, "Final round, guys," and
Yeah,
Hendo was like, "Nah, like three more or two more or something like that." He said,
Yeah.
but what stood out to me is Dan Henderson landed his classic H bomb combo where he threw the left low kick followed by the right overhand, and that's what dropped Shogun. Shogun had him up against the cage and he backed off of him a little bit, and Hendo threw that left low kick. Shogun tried to counter with a jab, but he kind of slipped it, and then came back across with that overhand right, which usually when Dan Henderson land that, it's the end of the fight, and it's the second time landing it, and Shogun went down, and Hendo got on top of him, stood over him, got some real good ground and pound, and opened up another cut on Shogun. I remember, I think that's the point where when he was ground and pounding him and trying to finish him. I believe that's the point where he really gassed himself out, and I feel like the transitions on the ground in this fight were pretty exciting too. It wasn't just the striking, like because at one point you'll see somebody getting mounted with ground and pound, and then they'll slip and reverse it, and then you'll see another switch and somebody will go for a submission, and then they'll lose the submission and get reversed. And I know Shogun tried a couple of leg locks that he couldn't get, but towards the end of this round, after they got off the floor and Hendo got gassed, Shogun got a little. They was up against the cage. I think it was this round where I think Shogun got rocked, and then he got up and he put Hendo against the cage, and then he kind of like took him down. And while Hendo was posting up with his arm, Shogun started landing some shots to the face right there before Hendo got up. And at the end of the round, when they were walking back to the corners, it looked like Dan Henderson was shaking out that right hand. So I was wondering if he heard it when he landed that H bomb.
Yeah, because that's when Rogan even made mention of that. He was like, he wonders if that hand is broken because the way
I think that was like in the next round when he said it. Like I think he's shaking out his hand.
hey, shout out to Chris. This was the first fight, 5-round title fight in UFC history.
Yeah, I wasn't even going to dispute it because I'm like, well, shit. If y'all say it, then it's most likely true. I wasn't even going to dispute it. So, all right. So let me see what I got for round three. So Shogun throws a nice head kick, but nothing lands squarely. He was going for those kicks. Hendo gets a nice single leg takedown on Shogun. At the 321 mark, Hendo lands a monstrous right hand that lays Shogun down. Hendo then begins to rain down a flurry of hammer fists on him. Hendo mounts him and continues to beat the holy hell out of him. And this is when I asked the question then, why the hell doesn't the referee stop this? Because at that point, he laid out flat. And they were saying, oh, he still had control of the leg. No, he didn't. He was getting his ass kicked. So I asked, why the hell doesn't the referee stop this? As Shogun is trying to cover up. Hendo mounts him and Shogun goes. So this is what you were talking about. Hendo mounts him, beating the shit out of him, and Shogun goes for a damn heel hook. And I'm asking the question again, how the hell did he survive this? This is what I'm writing down on the paper. How the hell did he survive this? Shogun ties Hendo up. Shogun ties Hendo back up in the cage. And then I even do a homage to Saw. I said Shogun's face looks like a Saw victim because he was getting his ass kicked. Then I say Hendo is landing some vicious elbows to the side of the head. I thought that was illegal.
You can't come from up to down like a bionic elbow.
Man,
12-6.
you could hit a man in the temple like that?
Josh Barnett.
Man. So I said, Hendo is landing some vicious elbows to the side of the head. And then I said, wait, what? Shogun gets a takedown and then starts raining blows down on Hendo. At this point, I'm losing my shit, man. It's like it's after 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm wired up. I couldn't go to sleep. Shogun takes Hendo's back. The two fighters stand up and they're clearly exhausted. Like, that was my round 3, man. I'm like, what? Bro, Shogun is man.
Hey, so what? Like, you were right when he was on the ground getting ground and pounded. When Shogun was on the ground, he did look like a dead body. Like, he was like in the face. He would just look like, damn, somebody please help me. But what did you think after that? Did you think like, oh man, do they even have another round in them? Like, what was your perception of what was going on at that point?
I was just saying, because at this point I'm like, I was just like, you know what, this man is unhuman because, bro, you getting he had some offense in the fight, but he was getting destroyed for the first 3 rounds. And I'm like shaking my head at the UFC for this one, and I'm like, man, y'all always talking about fighter safety. Sometimes you have to police these fighters, man, because they're not gonna stop. And I know because I didn't see it until the next day when I went back and watched it again. I watched it on ESPN Plus the second time, so I watched the actual event and I saw the fight before it, which they said was a bad stoppage. But sometimes it's better, man. Sometimes it's just better to take care of these guys' safety, man. This dude was getting those elbows to the side of the head. He was hitting them in his temple. Like the shit that could have happened to him from that fight. I don't know how he was standing. I don't know, man. I was exhausted. I wasn't even in there.
Hey, I agree with Vic. At the same time, I'm glad they didn't stop it because, I mean, round 4 was pretty awesome, and it made for a very good, entertaining fight. And I know I'm not in there, so it's like me not being in there. Sometimes when the fight is 3 rounds, I just be like, damn, I wish we had 2 more. I'm sure the fighters be like, damn, I'm ready to get the hell out of here. And I didn't realize that was the first 5-round fight in UFC history, so it's like perfect timing.
I think he said non-title. Yeah, non-title.
Yeah, first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right, so we on the round 4, right?
Surprisingly.
All right. Round 4 they started off, and I believe Hendo went for a takedown against Shogun, and when that happened, Hendo ended up getting Shogun in the crucifix. And at that point, I thought it was definitely going to be over because I thought he was going to start elbowing the hell out of him, and that was going to stop the fight. Then Shogun ended up reversing, and he got on top, and Hendo got on top, and then they were doing like a lot of ground fighting in this one. But you can see Shogun kind of starting to get. It seemed like Hendo was more gassed, than Shogun was at this point. Even though Hendo beat Shogun up more, it's like Hendo beat himself. He made himself tired from beating up on Shogun so much, basically. So that was basically round 4 for me.
Yeah, to me, round 4 was the most action-packed back and forth round of the whole fight. It's the first round that I felt like Shogun won. Shogun unloaded on Hendo while Hendo had his back trapped against the cage, and I think that's when Shogun took him down. And then when he took him down, Hendo again with that patented trademark switch. He had the switch on him and ended up on his back with Shogun on all 4s. And then that's when he wrapped his legs around his arm and had him in like a reverse crucifix. Where it's like Hendo had his back on the ground. Shogun was facing up, but Hendo had him in a crucifix, almost like he was gonna do the little roll up pin. And then so Hendo tried to go for a rear naked choke again, which is another, again, like trying to finish the fight. They just kept going for finishes. But some kind of way, if I remember right, Shogun escaped and got into a full mount. And it's just like all those transitions. I know that got to be tiring too when they already gassed out. So I thought that was pretty exciting. Like, if you're going to give me some ground fighting, I don't want to see the lay and pray. And one thing I like about Shogun, like Hendo, when he's on his back, he got that switch that he know how to like just reverse it. But Shogun, when he's on his back, he has a really active ground game from his back where he's very like technical, get off my back 101, where he try to place his feet deliberately on the person's hips and push them back. You get what I'm saying? So I kept noticing that, like, and it's kind of crazy to see, you know, by this time, once you gassed out, fundamentals usually go out the window. So I thought that was like, that's how you know that's muscle memory. Like, he must train that a lot. I think Shogun tried to get another leg lock, and that's how Endo was able to scramble up to the feet. And then I don't know. After that, I know at some point Hendo actually went for his first shot. I think in the fourth round at some point. I remember that standing out to me because I was thinking to myself, it was two things that Hendo didn't really do. He threw a few leg kicks, but not as many as he normally does. And he didn't go for not one shot, actually try to wrestle. But in this one, he actually did. And if I remember right, I'm not sure. I think I might be getting my rounds mixed up, but I feel like he took him down, and I think Shogun got right back up and rocked him. I think this the round when Hendo got rocked real bad. And at that point, I'm like, damn, is Henderson finna get finished? He ain't have nothing in the tank. He got hit with like a hook or uppercut, and he kind of like stumbled to the other side of the cage. And then that's when Shogun started to unload. He got a takedown, and with I think it was about like 30 seconds left. Shogun got on top of Hendo and started pounding the shit out of him. And I'm thinking like, oh shit, like, well, this was my first time seeing it, but if it was my first time seeing it, I'll be thinking, oh shit, he finna pull this out the hat. But some kind of way, Hendo survived. And if I'm not mistaken, he even got back on top of him and started pounding him out for the last 3 or 4 seconds. It was crazy. That was the most back and forth round of the fight.
You know what's interesting here is so as we're reviewing these fights, like I'm clearly going off of my notes to where I had to watch it. There was times I had to rewind, I had to stop, I had to go back and like, damn, did I just really see that, in order to come up with my notes. These guys are like legit just pulling this shit out of their head. So I really
watched the fight 3 times this week too, though. Like 3.5 times.
Man, I did something. Yeah, I just watched a movie an hour before we came in here. I can't tell you half the shit that went in on it. So I just hope everybody appreciating like the time and the effort that it takes, that it goes into stuff like this, to sit here and like regurgitate all this stuff, because it's not. And what's funny is we're kind of picking up on the same points. Like, I don't know, I hadn't discussed anything with them. I don't know if they discussed anything, but I hadn't discussed anything with them. But as I'm listening to them talk, it's all coming in my head. Like, yep, that's what I saw too. Like, that's how I saw it too. So that's the brilliance of what you're getting over here on this. So I hope everybody appreciates it. So round 4. All right. So round 4. The first line that I put was just bruh, because at this point I'm seeing them come out, and Hendo clearly gassed, which I get it. And I was thinking as Zay was talking, it's almost like you remember the episode of Family Guy where Mike Tyson fought the old lady. And Brian put the money on Tyson because it's Tyson.
Yeah.
But Tyson gassed out. And that's kind of how he was beating her up so bad that he just gassed out. And that's how I feel like this went. Hendo just like he had nothing left in the tank. It almost felt like he was like, damn, man, if I don't knock this guy out, then I might lose this fight. And I agree. This round is where I was like, boy, you know what? you may leave some doubt in the in the referee, in the judge's eyes, if it goes to the decision. Because at this point, he should have been finished. He should have been finished 2 rounds ago. So my first line was bruh. So Shogun shoots in for the single leg takedown and gets it. Hendo gets his back and gets him in the crucifix and transitions into a choke. I'm surprised that when he had the crucifix, he wasn't like landing some massive blows on him. I think that may have caused a stoppage to the fight had he done that. And I even think Joe Rogan even mentioned that. He was like, he was wondering why he didn't just start landing blows on him. But again, when you're tired, you're just throwing shit at the wall at this point. So Shogun escapes and goes for a heel hook. There's another takedown, and Hendo gets side control and then gets another choke in. That choke, I thought he had him there. Like he got that choke in really good, but again, somehow Shogun survives again. Like, bro, I don't know. I just don't know what it is with this guy. So Shogun is on his back, and Hendo rains down more blows. Holy shit, Shogun lands the uppercut that rocked Hendo. That's what you were talking about. That's when
uppercut. Okay.
He hit him with that uppercut. That's when he sent them staggering. So now both men start trading blows. Hendo is clearly gassed at this point. Like, you can look at him, he is clearly gassed. Shogun gets another takedown, and Shogun gets full mount and goes for a choke but loses it. Hendo was real slippery at this point, and at this point I say the crowd started going insane, because that's when the crowd like really started just picking up, and you could feel the atmosphere and the electricity in the building, and the time just ran out on them. I was like, damn it, man. Damn.
Yeah. I feel like Hendo kept looking up at the clock in that round too.
At this point, Hendo was done, man. Like, mentally, he was done, and it's like it must be mentally defeating when you're hitting everybody with everything, and it puts everybody else out, and it's still round 4, and this guy's still surviving. You know.
Hey, Bones, somebody's asking for your New Empire Dragons.
Yo, what's up, Joe? But yeah, so the start of the 5th round, they come out and Shogun go for a takedown within like the first maybe 30 seconds, and he ended up getting Hendo up against the cage, and he basically got on top mount, and he was hitting him with some good ground and pound. And Hendo had his feet posted up against the fence, and he was trying to like flip over. He just didn't have the energy to. Shogun, he just kept ground and pounding them. Then at one point, he went for my favorite, the arm triangle. He was trying to set it up, but he couldn't get it. And Hendo was trying to escape. He couldn't. Shogun got inside control, then eventually got back in mount. And the 5th round, Shogun completely dominated the entire round. And I would give that a 10-8 round. So I gave round 1 a 10-8 for Hendo, and round 5 a 10-8 for Shogun. Because Hendo, he did nothing. He was just like a dead fish, basically. He was just on the bottom. And Shogun, from the 4:15 mark at the start of the 1st round, at the start of the 5th round, all the way to the end, Shogun was on top, and he had a mount, and he just dominated the whole time. And that was basically the 5th round.
Yeah, that's exactly how it played out. Once, and like when I speak about it, I'm speaking as if like put myself in the mindset from me watching it from the first time, because I've probably seen the fight like 1,000 times, but just going back and reliving it and watching it, it's like I will be thinking it's one of those fights where it's been so long since I saw it, so I forgot how it played out. So watching this 5th round when Hendo gets taken down, in my head I'm just like, yeah, like this is it. Like, I know he don't got the energy to get up. Like, he just look gassed. Everything he does is like half-ass. He don't got nothing in the tank, and I don't know. Some kind of way he survived. And you see Shogun going for the finish with the arm triangle. He tried to finish it with ground and pound. The referee gave both of them a long leash, and I like to see that. How I don't like it when a referee calls it quick for one person. Or like, say Hendo had Shogun in trouble so many times, especially with the ground and pound, and the referee let it go. So I'm glad he didn't just stop it on Hendo. I'm glad he kind of like gave him his shot to like endure some pain, and that's exactly what he did. And that was pretty much it. That round took place in one position.
Yeah, it's funny that it's funny you mentioned that, because I was going to ask you, like, what if the ref would have stopped it? Like, how would y'all have felt, and how would the ref be looked at after letting Shogun get his ass kicked the majority of the fight?
Yeah, you gotta be fair. If you let one fighter get his ass whooped and you're not stopping the fight, then you gotta give the same fighter. I would give the same fighter the same respect.
Shout out to Josh Rosenthal. I don't know whatever happened to him, but
I was just thinking, I kind of miss Josh Rosenthal, man. He was a good ref.
So, so my okay, so my round five. So my round five goes as such. Hendo looks hurt, and Hendo looks hurt and a lot more reluctant to engage. Like you said, he at this point he's just going in survival mode. He wasn't engaging like he was, none of that shit. He was dropping his hands a lot, and that's clearly signs of a fighter that's just completely gassed. And if you're going to get him, that's your time to get him. So Shogun goes for a throw and gets side control and lands some knees. He was hitting him with those knees. Shogun gets full mount and starts to rain down blows on him. Shogun loses his mouthpiece. Now, one of them lost their mouth. Yeah, Shogun lost his mouthpiece. Shogun is still landing blows and gets into Hendo's half guard. Shogun is landing hammer fist and goes in for the choke. That's where I thought he was going to finish him. Shogun mounts Hendo again and rains down blows. At this point, Hendo is just trying to survive. Shogun lays on Hendo, basically smothering him as time runs out. Holy shit, what a fight.
Yeah, one of the greatest fights.
so would you like? We all agree with the decision, though, right?
Oh yeah. But for me, it's only because of the first 3 rounds.
Absolutely.
Yep.
3 rounds to 2 with 2 10-8s in there. That's how I see it.
But it was unanimous, right? That's what shocked me, though, that it was unanimous, and not one judge favored it for Shogun, though. That's what kind of shocked me, because even me looking at it for the first time twice, I was like, an argument could have been made that Shogun won. It would have been a hard argument, but you still could have made an argument that it was at least a split decision or something. Because Shogun, I mean, he had to get points for just the heart of not dying in there, and man, that shit was crazy.
And plus, usually the fighter that finishes strong, like last, it favors in the judges' eyes too.
Damn, get out of my head, man. I was just gonna say, like, I was gonna ask if this was one championship or Pride, who do you think would have won that fight? Because Pride and one championship, they didn't score by rounds; they scored by the totality of the fight.
If you're doing it like that, then Shogun will win the fight.
I think I still would have gave it to Hendo, just because I'm looking at like the damage. Man, there was 2 times in the fight where I just audibly was like, just stop it. I'm throwing in the fake white towel. I'm like, just stop it. I mean, and Hendo was in some trouble, but never like that, to where I was just like, man, y'all got to stop this. There was 2 times where I thought Shogun was just completely done.
I think in those scoring systems, you can make a really strong case that Shogun will win that fight, because they look at it more so as okay, if y'all was fighting to the death, who would have won? And based off of how the fight ended, it's like if you're not scoring it round for round and just the fight as a totality, I believe they probably would have took it the other way.
Yeah. Also, I know this is hard fight, but I wonder what would have happened if Shogun would have just decided to stand and trade with him in the 5th instead of just going for the takedown. But obviously, I know he was real tired and stuff like that. But I feel like he probably could have finished him, because he was looking for that uppercut since round 1, and then he didn't start finding it until like round 4, and then in the 5th round he didn't even throw an uppercut. He just took him down.
And so with a fight that good, it makes sense that they ran it back, right?
Yep.
So how many times did they fight after that?
One.
Just one more. I think it's 2 total.
And who took that one?
Hendo.
Like, was that the knock? That was the one that was the knockout, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I believe so.
Yeah, I watch. It's funny because I watched that, then I just start going down the rabbit hole. I watched the Kung Lee versus Wanderlei Silva because I like Wanderlei Silva. Silva's Vanderlei. He's 1-2 where ain't no style with him. He's just going in there to knock you out. That's it.
You got to see Vanderlei and Brian Stann.
Oh,
that's from Pride or UFC?
UFC.
UFC. But hey, yeah, y'all heard about Vanderlei Silva recently?
No.
He been on social media telling all his fans that he got some Brazilian gambling site and he lost all his money and he broke now and now he need money. So come on, y'all, let's help me get this money up. Basically, panhandling his fans for money.
Nah, that could be a scammer.
Nah, it was Vanderlei like posting the video.
Oh, you actually saw him.
Yeah. That kind of disgusted me.
Mm-hmm.
So I also watched Dan Henderson. Shit, I watched Dan Henderson knock out Fedor, and just before we started the show, I watched Dan Henderson get beat up by Daniel Cormier.
Yeah, that's what I was finna say too. The fight before this fight, Hendo knocked out Fedor. So it's like he coming into this fight knocking out, one of the GOATs of all time. You know what I mean? And then he hitting Shogun with
At
everything.
heavyweight.
Yeah, at heavyweight.
Let's stop right there because I'm glad I was hoping that one day he would have came up. What do y'all think about Fedor never coming to UFC?
It's one of the all-time misses that UFC ever had, to be honest. Because if you look at it, once he left Pride, I mean, he beat Brett Rogers, and but he wasn't the same Fedor.
He barely beat Brett Rogers. Brett
Yeah.
Rogers, actually, they could have called that fight, but because it was Fedor, they didn't.
So I feel like, in hindsight, if he'd have went to the UFC, it probably would have been the same. But I don't know, because the matchup they always wanted to do is Fedor versus Brock.
Well, see, that's my contention again. Big fish, small pond. I don't think Fedor is they were billing him as the greatest heavyweight champion, greatest heavyweight of all time. I don't think so. Like, I'm looking at him. I don't think.
Thank you. I think
his career would have been mediocre if in the UFC in the prime of the UFC heavyweights. Come on, man.
To me, Fedor is like,
I don't think he's
overrated like a motherfucker. Like,
yeah.
he's so overrated. Like, he's so overrated. I don't know what it is. Like, I can't name like 7 people that he beat.
Well, you mean outside of Pride?
I mean, in general, period.
Well, in Pride, he beat a lot of people. He beat the Nogueira. He beat Kevin Randleman. He beat Mikko Krokop. So he beat a lot of people in Pride. But once he left Pride, he ain't.
Hey, you think it's true what they say about Pride?
Most likely, to my as far as the Yakuza and stuff.
Yeah, and the fights being rigged.
Yeah, it might be some truth to it. Much as I would hate to.
They say that the fights were rigged, but the winners never knew.
Huh?
The fights were rigged, but the winners never knew because they would go to the loser and pay this. Hey, you need to lose this fight, and don't let him know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Pride. I want to say Pride is the one that Shane McMahon was gonna have a hand in. I think Vince McMahon was gonna buy Pride at one time. It was either Pride or K1, but I'm almost certain it was Pride. But I like everything I've seen of Fedor, maybe in his earlier days, but everything I've seen of him, he just looked like the tough white guy that just can take a punch or whatever. but nothing he ever did was of any skill. And when I watched him fight Brett Rogers, I'm like, they absolutely saved him in that fight, because Brett Rogers was eating his lunch in that fight, and then he hit him with that one. He landed that one shot on him. But I just always wondered how would it be had Fade. What did he call him? Like the Emperor of Tomorrow? Or
the last Emperor.
The last Emperor. Yeah, I always wonder how it would be. It's just like when Overeem. Remember, again, everybody was saying how Overeem was, he was the best, and then when he came to UFC, he beat Brock Lesnar. But I watched Overeem get beat up a lot in UFC.
Yeah,
in the UFC he was hit or miss.
So it's big fish, small pond.
Yeah, 100%.
I do want to look at. I got the stats up here. I do want to look at the fight breakdown. So you had wait a minute. Wait a minute. Oh wow. So wait a minute. So total strikes. Okay, this is interesting. Shogun landed more strikes in this fight. Wow. Okay,
probably because of all that ground and pound.
191 to 113. Wow. Shogun had five takedowns to 1. They both had 1 submission attempt. What REV means? What, reversal?
Yeah,
I can't even see it.
I think so.
Yeah, I'm assuming because it's as after submission attempt. So in significant strikes, Shogun outstriked him too, 96 to 77. And Henderson had 1 knockdown. So statistically, Shogun was ahead in every category.
And see, that's the big argument that I have sometimes with people, or the big debate, because stats don't necessarily tell the story of a fight. Because if you're scoring it round by round, it's like I can outstrike you in 3 rounds by a large margin. Then in the last 2 rounds, you outstrike me enough to where the totality of it, like just like this fight, is a prime example, obviously. In totality, Shogun landed more strikes, but really that was only 2 rounds of that. You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
When I first read that, I didn't realize, and it said 191. I just automatically thought that was Henderson. I didn't look at the pictures to see who was on whose side. Because I'm like, when I'm looking at the fight, I'm like, Shogun clearly got beat up, but that was just the first 3 rounds.
Yep, which is the majority of the fight.
Man, that was wow. I'm shocked looking at the stats. That threw me for a loop. That's why I had to go back and look at
it. Some significant strikes are more significant than others.
Yeah, I was shocked, man, because Shogun, Shogun probably did get a lot of ground and pound. You know who used to do that a lot? What's the boxer? Sugar Ray Leonard. He used to do that a lot. You know, when they do
at the end of the round.
Yeah, at the end of the round, when they do that tap tap tap, he said that he would always just start throwing a bunch of pitter pats because they count that as strikes. So always toward. That's why he was always ahead on the striking card.
And that's why.
Hey, so go ahead, bro.
The judges always going to favor whoever is winning towards the end of the round sometimes, and that can like kind of skew a person's view of the fight or who won the round, because you may be winning the first 4 minutes, but if I finish real strong in that last minute, then that's going to be like the lasting impression that the people see.
Hey, what does it say about John Jones, considering that the beating that Shogun took and he stayed in it? Meanwhile, he tapped the strikes against John Jones.
That shot, John Jones got some hard hits.
Yep.
But Hendo be dropping them bombs, man. I mean, he hit you with some clean ass shots. Shogun I don't know, man. Shogun, he was on something that night because there's no way you should be able to survive that twice. Like that type of beating.
Is this fight in the Hall of Fame? Bones, do you know?
No, it should be if it's not already.
This fight should definitely be in the Hall of Fame. I don't know if Dan Henderson is in the Hall of Fame yet, but if he ain't, he will be. And so will Shogun. He just actually retired this year, if I'm not mistaken. Shogun just had his last fight. So shout out to both fighters, man. Both all-time greats, legends. Dan Henderson had a belt in every organization except for the UFC. That one eluded him. And he had 2 shots, one against Rampage, one against Bisbee. And Shogun had a Pride belt and a UFC belt.
Yep.
So shout out to both guys.
Man, when Shogun defeated Machida to win that belt, greatest I already experienced. I was so happy because I hated Machida.
Mr. Karate.
Yeah.
karate fighter. Well, fellas, damn, I think that turned out good. I want to do some more of those. What's
good? Because I got the next one.
I was about to say, what's going to be the next fight?
The next fight is going to be, man, I got 2 that I'm trying to choose from. I'm gonna go with Robbie Lawler versus Roy McDonald 2.
Oof.
I think I remember that one.
All right, that's a good one too.
Hey, matter of fact, can I make a switch on the fly? My bad. I'm gonna change it up. It's gonna be Zhang Wei Li versus what's her name?
Joanna Jacek?
There you go.
Yeah, y'all gonna have to text me that because ain't no way in the hell I'm spelling that.
Yeah, me either. I'm gonna figure it out though.
ain't no way in the hell I'm spelling that one, man. That's wow. Yeah, man.
Hey,
I like these fight the single fight breakdown.
Yeah, it is pretty fun. If you go to ESPN Plus and you go to the series UFC and then go to series and they have something called main event, and a lot of times fights be in there, but this fight will be under the subcategory of the title fights.
All right, well, that's the one we got next. Then with what you said, Joe Wang Lee versus what?
Joanna Jacek.
Zhang Wei Li versus Joanna. I call it Joanna. I can't never say her last name.
All right, so that's gonna be the next one. What's the next UFC event coming up?
June 10th. Amanda Nunes losing her belt to Irene Aldana, getting sent into retirement.
That's June 10th. All right, so we got a prediction, and we got a prediction, and we got a post show for that, and then we'll have to figure out when we're gonna throw this one in on top of all my other shows I gotta do. Oh boy. Man, you see, I lost my voice twice messing around doing all these damn shows. I did a show every day of the week 2 weeks ago. And I just realized I had only been streaming on my channel since my birthday, since March the 7th.
Hey, keep it up, man.
Yeah, for real. Hey, I caught the tail end of a show that you did with some guy who, yeah, I got to go back and listen to that because based off like how I probably heard the last 5-10 minutes, but I got to go back and check that one out. You be dropping some real good content. Sometimes it's like an overload. Like, damn, another one. But that's good.
Which one? Because I talked to 2 preachers, Jansen or Red.
You talking about
Jansen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was fun, man. So let me tell you about them. So I got so I've been getting pulled up on by the gospel gangsters, basically. They've been emailing me all type of crap there's this boxer over in Philadelphia that man worships, and he just because I interviewed the guy that beat his pastor in a debate, he's all pissed. So he sent a bunch of people my way, and they be sending me all type of crazy emails and coming over in the comments in the chat saying all type of crazy things. So it's crazy, man. I never imagined. I knew I was gonna have beef on YouTube. I mean, that's, you know, you can't get away from that. But I never knew that it was gonna come from that community where the gospel gangsters, just because I don't follow, and it's not even that I don't, because I don't care either way. I don't care about their pastors or anything like that. That's not my concern. For me, it's more about the interview and getting the word out,
the content.
Yeah, but just because I interview their the pastor that they don't like, it's a problem. So Travis, it's the last Straight Talk session that I did. It was called Open Discussion. We just did it this past Tuesday. Yeah, it's called Straight Talk Session Open Discussion. That was real fun because I didn't know. I had interviewed Reginald Young the week before, and then Jansen came on the following week, and all of these guys came over. So now they sending me all these other people to interview and stuff like that because they like my interviewing skills. Because again, I'm unbiased. I ain't got a dog in the fight. I don't give a shit. So you know what I mean? So it's just for me, it's about
that's what makes it a good interview. Exactly. You ask some good questions too.
Yeah, I love the conversation. That's all I care about. I love the interviews and I love the conversation. So, and look at that. And you would be the last person that I would expect to watch a show like that. That's why when I say over here that we have something for everybody. So like, it's like you'll just look at this and be like, oh, I don't like UFC, so I can't mess with that channel. This ain't all we do. Like, we rarely do the UFC shows. We don't do them enough. It's like, you know what I'm saying?
I was thinking that same thing. I want to try to get on a level to where we can do this weekly. But it's just, so with these review shows, that kind of helps. Even if it's not weekly, like we can miss a week here and there, but I want to do it more often than not. Yeah, so with these review shows that have a good
I think every other week. I think every other week would be good. And if and a lot of it too is when the debate season is over. I'll really have the time. That's when I'll be free. So that's when I'll be calling y'all like, hey man, what's the next fight or what's the next match or whatever. So, you know, just keep the matches in your back pocket, man, and we'll rock out tomorrow. Well, yeah, I'll let y'all close out before I start giving all the pleasantries of what's coming up on the channel.
All right, before I close out, I just want to say that this year, Christmas is coming early. July 29th, for the BMF title, you got Justin Gaethje versus Dustin Poirier. That's the fight of the year already. It ain't even happened. What you think about that, Bones?
That's gonna be a banger, man. I'm excited for that fight. I'm gonna go with Gaethje. I know Poirier, your boy, that's your favorite fighter, but Gaethje's your favorite fighter's favorite fighter. So I'm gonna go with Gaethje for that one.
It ain't gonna be better than this one.
Yeah, I feel like this. I feel like I'm going Poirier all day, but the thing that makes me like pause a little bit and give some hesitation is the fact that they in Utah again, and you know Gaethje trained at Elevation in Denver already, so I think Poirier needs to go out there now. And one more thing, and this is my last thing I want to add to the show. Michael Johnson, what's going on?
Yeah, bro. That was a nasty knockout. That one hurt me.
I'm lost. I don't know what
it was a fight last night, and Michael Johnson, one of my favorite fighters, and he got knocked out nasty, like stiffened up.
Damn.
And the worst part about it was dude who beat him was on like a 3-fight losing streak. Dude caught him with an overhand right. And you know how people get starched and they be stiff with their legs crossed? He was like that. And then dude came in with like a little hammer fist. And after he hammer fisted him, he cradled him like a baby, like somebody lost a loved one or something.
He
Like
felt,
Michael Johnson died in his arms.
yeah. It's like he felt bad the way he did him. It was bad.
Damn, we gotta all right. So I got that was from last night.
Yeah,
That was a fight night.
yeah.
All right, I gotta go check that out. Yeah, I don't think the Gaethje, who you say Gaethje versus Poirier, I don't think it's gonna be a banger more than this fight we just reviewed, man. I don't know. I like watching this fight. I don't think that fight was. Boy, you're gonna have to throw some hands in order to come into the same conversation of this one. This was
So I'm gonna let you set the time and date for the next show, and then we're gonna see because it's a lot of those. That fight was special, but it's a lot of those out there.
all right. So we'll do the well, obviously the UFC is what, June 10th,
Yep.
and today's hell, that's in a couple of days. That one, that's in a few weeks. So we may hit that one first. I'll see what the schedule is, because it's not just
No.
it's not just me over here now. So I gotta see what what they have planned and all that, because they dropping shows like crazy too. So
we can do it like that. I ain't in a hurry to get it out there. We could do UFC 289 and then double back to that. It's all good.
Yeah, we'll set the schedule and then see what dates we got available, because I got a couple more of the religious guys want to come over and do some presentations and stuff. So I got to get back with some of them and see when they want to rock out.
All right, I appreciate you having us. It was a good time as always. Right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Let's go ahead and build this audience.
Hey, all I got to say.
That Bones he cut out. He probably was about to drop some fire.
I said all I say is go Heat.
Oh yeah, they play tonight, right?
Yeah, 8:30.
Yeah, look at that. Could go up 3-0.
Yeah.
Yeah, they may lay an egg in this one though. That's just how it goes.
Hey, because apparently they wanted it to be Boston versus LA, because they both got 17 championships, so that's what they wanted the finals to be. But
that ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, we turned all that up. And Denver,
Denver. I think Denver got something to say about that on the West Coast. Man, yeah, that's crazy, boy. If the Heat make it from the 8th seed, and the Panthers are also up 2-0 too, so you got our hockey team and our basketball team both in the Eastern Conference Finals. So good shit, man. Just waiting for my Dolphins to go and hoist that Lombardi, and I'll be good.
Now watch you finna roll up all the Dolphins fans in the
audience. y'all know the day that happened though, I'm gonna be the most insufferable person on earth. Like I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm telling you from now.
I don't know. I got an uncle that might got you beat.
Man. I'm gonna be insufferable, man. But all right, fellas, let me go and close it down and relax before we gotta hit
appreciate you tomorrow. Peace out.
All right, peace.
All right.
Well, Straight Talk Society, there you have it. Another tremendous episode of Straight Talk MMA. This was episode 9, Shogun versus Dan Henderson 1. So they had 2 fights, but we reviewed the first one. If you haven't watched that fight, the fight is on YouTube. I mean, YouTube ain't paying me any money, but I'll say it. Go seek that fight out on YouTube, or you can watch it on ESPN Plus. You will not be disappointed. That fight was, man, if you just like 2 dudes going in there banging, that's the fight for you. And how Shogun made it out of those first 2 rounds, I'll never know. But that fight was tremendous. So y'all make sure and check that out. Like I say, I may come back tomorrow. I don't know, because I had to see what the schedule's looking like. I know St. Louis reached out to me. We want to get together. He has something he wants to present. I'm looking more for more of the religious guys to come over. Hell, I got to see what's going on with the debate season. I don't, as far as the playoffs, I don't know what's going on with that. So, Pour Your Heart Out has another show on May 26th. And speaking of Pour Your Heart Out, be sure to check out last night's show. In addition to last night's show, check out the show from Friday night. So they had their open panel on Friday night, but then last night we had the cross promotion where me and Mike got on the panel and we talked. We had a good conversation. We had a conversation that honestly I didn't think it was going to go that long because of the topic, but when you got into it and started researching it, it was like, damn, more people need to know about this. You know what I'm saying? So it was talking about like black sperm donors and things like that. And then we got into the attire that young women, young cheerleaders wear and things like that. You know how I always feel about that. So we got into that. So be sure to check those two shows out. Like I say, there's always something for everybody on this channel. I mean, if you don't want to, I was shocked to hear Zay mention the show with Jansen, because Zay normally doesn't get into stuff like that, but it's always interesting. That's why I try to bring over here. All I say is just come listen once, because I'm pretty sure if you listen to something once, you're going to keep coming back, because we have that ability to draw people in, and there's always something for everybody. You know what I mean? So I may come back tomorrow. I don't know. I had to see. I think there's a debate tomorrow. I think there's a playoff debate tomorrow night between Rio and Scheme. We'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, so just stay tuned. I may do a pop-up. I may do a pop-up tomorrow. Who knows? Just to tell you like what's going on for the week. We do have Wrestling with Reality coming up this Wednesday at 6:05. We will be doing a prediction show of the upcoming Night of Champions fight, Night of Champions pay-per-view coming up this weekend from Saudi Arabia. If you haven't heard the rant that I did, go check in my videos and check out that rant that I did on the state of the WWE title. Like it was just like 12 minutes of just me just going ballistic. So be sure and check that out. And I think that's it. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else. If anything comes up, how could I forget? I will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's Man Talk Monday. How could I forget? Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow night at 6:05 for Man Talk Monday. Join me, Michael. Ricardo's probably going to join. Hopefully, E can come on. I don't know if Solar's going to be on because, like I said, there's a debate coming up. Wayne will be there. So, and if you don't know about Wayne, just go back a few episodes to Straight Talk Sessions and get acquainted with Wayne, because Wayne will be there tomorrow night. It is Man Talk Monday. Anyone's allowed on the Man Talk Monday show, but the thing about Man Talk Monday, it's topical discussion from the male point of view. So even though we will allow women to come on the panel, you do have to understand that it's a men-driven show. So we're talking about issues from our point of view. So don't come up here trying to change our minds about anything. You know, it's our time to get our shit off. So just as long as you keep that in mind, it's all good. But you are welcome to come on the panel, so we can have a respectful dialogue. But that should be interesting, because I do have a couple of stories that I want to go over tomorrow and get the guys' thoughts and opinions on them. So with all that being said, I think that's it. Until tomorrow night, I leave Peace of Zay, Piece of Bones for coming on, man. That was fun. I love doing those match reviews. Peace of everybody that came over in the chat. We had a couple of new people tonight. We had Chris, New Empire Dragon, Vic. Yeah, I appreciate you guys. Thinking Black. My brother-in-law was in the chat. I appreciate you guys for coming over, supporting the show, supporting the channel. Please be sure to hit that like button, hit that share button, and subscribe to the channel so you get the updates as of whenever we go live. Until tomorrow, I leave you with these words. Always seek out the truth for yourself, because if not, you'll fall victim to other people's interpretations of them. And with that, see you tomorrow. Peace.
If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best, and the best is blessed, baby.
All right, gentlemen, we've been over the rules. Protect yourself at all times. Follow my instructions. Keep it clean. Touch gloves if you wish. Let's do it.
Cheated.